What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. It is a Victory Monday. All of our main rivals have been vanquished. Now we can focus on the rest of the season, trying to win that sixth national championship. First, talk about some folks that vanquished their rivals as well. That's Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Pete, hop in here.
D, I don't know if it's my screen or what, but that polo you got on is glistening right now. It's very I don't know. It's got some interesting things going on the screen. I gotta say. It's got some,
it's like the stripes are kind of popping, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man.
Yeah, and you might be debuting a new material there for Adidas, maybe. I don't know.
It's electric juice, man. That's what it is. Just popping off. Everybody in the chat, appreciate you guys fired up. Yeah, ready to rock and roll, man. This is a good time. This is a good time of life right now. This is a good comment here from Mad Abs Eats I want to get into, Pete, which is he said, listening to our fans versus listening to all national commentators was night and day this weekend. Yeah, I drove home. I listened to from Tally, listened to every single Miami, FSU national kind of show there was. And they all had Miami either as the best team. Probably 90% of them had Miami as the top team or right on the cusp of that. And then you tune into Kane stuff and it's all about, hey, foot off the gas. The scoreboard doesn't look good. And obviously there's stuff you got to clean up. That's what the bye week's for. And there's going to be plenty of ammunition. But I didn't notice that discrepancy, Pete. I don't know if you did as well.
I mean, I was one of the people who kind of had that feeling. And I was obviously very excited about the win. But the way the game ended compared to how we were feeling an hour prior was a very stark difference, I believe, D.
I guess. I mean, look. It's
no, I guess. We were up 28-3 and we won 28-22 and they had an onside kick at the end to potentially get the ball back. So, I mean, the game got too close. Let's not the win was fantastic and they dominated the game. Let's be real about that. But we can also say that, again, how we were feeling up 28-3 was not how we felt at the end of the game. Me and how a lot of fans felt. Maybe you felt just as good at 28-3 as you did at 28-22, but I'd be hard pressed to believe that.
28-22 and the kick is getting kicked? Absolutely not. I felt terrible. 28-22 and that F is on the scoreboard and the L is there for Castellanos, that second L, and you have Notre Dame dead, Florida dead, FSU dead, and the ACC in front of us and the team relatively healthy. That at that point, I'm feeling like I'm feeling right now, which is $1 million. I could not be happier. Again, stuff to clean up. We shouldn't have felt that emotion of concern when that onside kick was being kicked when we were up 28-3. That kick goes a different way. It could be another Georgia Tech situation, right? So
worse.
Georgia Tech too. Yeah, so worse. So I agree with you at that point. I'm just saying after the game, right? You could still say, hey, this got too close. We shouldn't have been nervous during this kick.
I think it was just because of how quickly things kind of some buddies and I, we were laughing. I didn't want to be. I wanted to be laughing at the end of that game. I didn't want to be nervy, and I was more nervy than I wanted to be at the end. And these are first world problems here. But. Yeah, that's just my feeling on it, D.
No, I hear you. And look, there's Mike, I guess I'm reacting to, because, as you know, we got CanesInsight.com, I got to update this because it needs to be updated. 7.6 million posts and counting on CanesInsight.com. And you know how message boards are. They can get emotional after the game. But I turn into the board, right? And the first thread I see, as you see the different threads, most of them positive. But the first thread I see is sickening the end of that game. And that was not the emotion that I was feeling. It was sickening or a sick feeling. I mean, maybe, again, when that kick was in the air, I felt that sick feeling. But before that, after that, there it is, sickening right there. 120. Shout out to
that's
XIO.
A bit much.
I mean, so I think that was the immediate kind of feedback when I went on Twitter. Everything was going on about the end, and I get it. Look, they're going to work on that in the bye week. It's more fuel for the bye week. But if you've been watching this team for 20 years and you see us completely dominate FSU, and you can say what you want, they know what happened. Mike Norvell knows what happened. Every national commentator that I heard knows what happened. I didn't hear one person say anything about the score other than it doesn't reflect how badly FSU got smoked. And then, of course, you dominate Florida, which the final score does reflect that, but it was dicey for a second. You should have had the 21-up touchdown with Marty Brown on the play that they missed. The rest missed. And then Notre Dame, to me, by far the best of these three opponents. Close game, but Miami controlled the whole game. And I think that was clear to all the viewers. So you have a very tough slate.
I'll say, though, D, if Florida and Notre Dame play, I think Florida wins that game. I'm liking Florida right now. I really am.
That's a good one.
I said on Saturday I thought they were going to win that game when we were talking about it in the morning.
You did, and you nailed it. And your boy Bod looked good. The offensive line looks good when they're not playing Miami. DJ Lagway looks good when he's not playing Miami. Dallas Wilson does help them certainly with his ability. Just being, that guy is big and fast and good. But it's funny. I was thinking about Florida because Florida fans how they are. They're like, we had a Dallas Wilson all year.
Yeah, I knew that tweet was coming. I saw what you retweeted. I was telling my boys when I was watching it with them, I was like, they're gonna start to say this, and lo and behold, it happened.
I hope they do. I hope FSU thinks it was a close game. I hope UF thinks they would have won if things went differently with Dallas Wilson, because they can keep their coaches and they can keep losing to Miami and losing state championships and getting more and more irrelevant. So I hope that they both have a flicker of hope here and keep their guys as long as possible. I think FSU stuck with this loser because they paid him too much. But I think with UF, probably still more likely than not, he's not the coach, but he's coaching, so you never know what could happen. But, I mean, at the end of the day, those programs are not ranked. I guess is FSU still ranked, right?
FSU's ranked, yeah.
They won't finish ranked, and, UF is the better team of the two, I would agree, but they're currently unranked, or did they creep in? They're still unranked.
No,
right?
They're still unranked. Yeah.
So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, these programs are not on our level. We could look at the rankings. We could look at the recruiting rankings. We could look at the portal rankings. We could just look at the games themselves and look at whose coaches are having on hot seats and who's feeling pretty good. So I feel very good about how those rivalry games went. I think the biggest takeaway I had from like a UF versus Alabama, and shout out to Graham from across the pond, UK Canes. I was just out there. Just for a little bit, but yeah, shout out. Although my algorithm got screwed up on ESPN, now every time I turn up ESPN.com, it takes me to soccer and cricket and all this other stuff.
Dude, you said screwed up. I think it got fixed for you.
Yeah, it did. Well, it got fixed for me. I went to the tailgate. Shout out to Fonzie. Shout out to the whole crew out there with the put together that tailgate. That was awesome. Like we went out there at first because the quad box was still getting set up. I didn't know that. So first thing I see is a giant TV with soccer on at like 12:30. I was about to call the authorities on these guys, but ultimately it worked out.
Madrid was playing, so
we had the quad box and it worked out. But yeah, my takeaway from UF that game was we played UF for 8 quarters, right? Everybody has played at some point. You had Sapp in both games. You had Banks in one of these, whatever. You played them for 8 quarters. At no point in those 8 quarters was UF the better team than Miami. And quite frankly, at very few points of those 8 quarters, it was even close. Number 2, at no point in those 8 quarters were either of UF's trenches, which, by the way, both looked excellent against Texas, top 10 team. At no point in those 8 quarters did UF's trenches look in the same category, universe, as Miami. I mean, universe. I think UF had one of the worst pass blocking ratings ever last time we played them. And we, of course, they didn't touch Beck. Beck didn't play great, but they didn't touch him. So that was a takeaway from those games. And then, of course, FSU, we talked about it a bunch. We both did the instant reacts. Miami clearly the better team. And the talent on FSU, that secondary is awful. Earl Little stinks. Their defensive line. I'm glad I don't have to bury the opponents anymore like we've been doing because it's not rivals, but I want to make sure we kick these guys when they're down. Defensive line, no pass rush. Linebackers.
Daryl Jackson played well, though.
Daryl Jackson played well, though.
And there's a lot of respect from people inside Miami's building for Daryl Jackson. I'll tell you that much, D.
Hey, great talent. We'll see him in the NFL. Won't see him in garnet and gold anymore, at least not against the University of Miami. By the way, talk about bad luck charm. Was Daryl Jackson 0-4 in this rivalry?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Did he lose twice at Miami and then lose twice?
I think one year he didn't play though.
All right, so yeah, that's right. He's 0-3. 0-3. So shout out to Eric Jackson. But look, he was a talented player. He's off to the pros. Other than that, I mean, their talent stunk. Their secondary P. We talked about it. Did we not say on that morning show, they said, who's the player of the game? We said, Carson Beck's going to throw for a lot of yards because their front seven's so bad that they have to commit a lot of numbers to stop our running game, or we'll just run it down their throat. And then when they're committing numbers to the running game, that leaves a numerical mismatch in the back end against our receivers. And not only is their front seven bad, their secondary is also bad, probably even worse. And we saw what happened on Saturday. It was just a total mismatch and not nearly as close as the final score, which everybody watched.
I will say they neutralized the run game somewhat, T. And look, they were able to get the first downs when they needed them, like in when they absolutely needed the yardage. But this wasn't Miami's best running performance. It didn't need to be, but I think we can also give them a little bit of credit up front.
Yeah, I mean, look, they set out to stop the run with numbers, right? So it was just a math problem. They threw so many numbers at the running game that we're not going to run it as effectively. But when you do that against a complete team like Miami, you open up the pass. And against the pass, they didn't get to the passer. Carson Beck had all day to throw. I mean, his jersey's just as white now as it was when he showed up in Tallahassee. And then their secondary, I mean, awful secondary. Tackling was terrible. They couldn't cover. You saw, I mean, CJ Daniels, that's teach tape on that slant. I mean, that was embarrassing. I thought their effort was terrible. They couldn't run to the ball, as you saw on those screens, and getting run over. Mark Fletcher ran over Earl Little, something awful. Did you see that one where Fletcher kind of gave him a little move?
He thought he thought at first he was going to try to shake him out, and then said, "I'm just going to go right through you."
Exactly, man. So
I'll say to you, we have a few paid comments to get here
right now. Yep.
I do want to get to a comment. We've had a couple of comments here and talking about the defense. I think this played a big factor of it, and I'm going to pull up these comments here. I'm trying to find them about basically that, and I think it was Kirk Menendez who said this, and I had brought it up. And K Mill says it here too. 77 reps for Bain, Mesidor 76. And then big in Green Tree All-American says here, he says, we need to develop depth behind Bain, Mesidor, 70+ steps, not ideal for long seasons. Lucky to have the bye week next. Completely agree with this. And I've gotten a lot of flack about the D-line depth behind those guys. Those guys are phenomenal, but I think this becomes a factor here now. ACC play, you should be able to manage it, D. But I think there's no doubt there's a massive, massive drop-off behind them.
No, man, I agree. And I think this is part of what –
and Blunt having to play 3-tech right now as well, which is what I was going to say. That's something that I don't think Miami necessarily wants to be doing right now, but it needs to be doing it out of necessity.
I think when you put Blunt at defensive tackle and then Hayden Lowe's out for the year, Cole McConaughey's banged up, you are missing a little bit of those big guys to back those guys up. So I agree. But listen, what I would say is this is the time of the schedule where you got to develop the rest of your roster. When you got to win, this is the
Dante Simpson got some snaps late.
Sure did. Meaningful snaps. Yeah. So we'll see what happens here, but I think you need to use this time. First, you got to win. We've never won the ACC, so that's obviously priority number 1, 2, 3. But you also need to develop the rest of your roster to get ready for that stretch run if you do make it to the playoffs, which you're very likely to do at this point. So there's a different era where right now, back in the day, we'd be like, all right, well, win the rest of our games, we're playing the national championship, right? It was kind of that deal. Now, in this new era of 12-team playoffs, you got to play 2 seasons. So we've gotten through, I think, the most difficult part on paper of this season. Historically, the most difficult part for us has been closing in the SEC. So that's the next phase. And then you go to the whole third season that you have to prepare for. So a couple quick comments I want to get to here. Bobby T, appreciate your support. Cooper flipped to Miami, Texas in a tailspin. If he was smart, I mean, I think if you're Cooper, I don't know what he values, what the whole deal is. I know Miami likes him and wants him. That Texas offensive line stinks. They are awful. I mentioned Florida and just what you learn from watching them. I really don't think people appreciate how good our offensive line is. We are so much better than everybody else in the country. And now it sounds like, oh, that's homer talk. Well, going into the season, you would say Notre Dame and Florida were top 10 offensive lines. Pro Football Focus had Florida ahead of Miami. And I believe Notre Dame ahead of Miami as well. and many other publications did. Well, you saw that comparison, and it was no comparison, like not even close. Notre Dame had their worst pass blocking grade ever. Florida had one of the worst pass blocking grades ever. And that was, again, against Miami's front. So you got to give them some slack on that because our front's also better than their fronts. But Miami's offensive line has been outstanding every single game. Even Florida, where we didn't get it going offensively, Miami's offensive line was dominant in that game, run and pass. So you're Cooper, and you watch Texas, Arch Manning got hit relentlessly. Some people are down on Arch after that game, and we'll talk about it here in a second. We got an announcement to make. But I think with respect to Arch, he is getting smoked every time he drops back. That offensive line is horrible, and they ran for about 15 yards. And then with their tailbacks, they ran for 11. So if you're Cooper, it is a no-brainer where you want to be. And he brings speed that Miami doesn't have. He had a 90-yard touchdown this past weekend. So Gerald Pringle really the only one that has that kind of pure track speed. Jordan Lyle very quick, fast as well, as far as the long speed. So you put him in this offensive line where he's not getting touched for the first 5 yards, and he can just kind of cook. That to me is what it is. Real quick before we get to some more comments here, Vlad saying we didn't run on them like we wanted to. It's a numbers game. Florida State knew that they did not have any kind of chance of stopping our running game with their 3 down front. They just did not. It's zero chance. So what they did was they put more numbers in the box, and that led to those big play action downfield passes, which you saw from Carson Beck, the most explosive passing game he's had all year. A lot of that's just a numbers game. They could not stop the run with their base defense, so they had to pick their poison, and they chose the Beck poison, and they got poisoned. They died. So I think that's kind of how the whole thing worked out. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see something similar from the ACC, the rest of the ACC schedule. Pete, I want your thoughts on this. I think if you're Louisville, if you're Stanford, NC State, Pitt, Virginia Tech, you name the team, SMU, the chances of them stopping Miami's run game with just lining up and playing are 0.0. So I think they have to at least choose the passing game to get beat instead of the running game. Because at least with the passing game, you got to catch the snap. You got to not miss any blocks. You got to catch the ball. You got to make the throw. There's more you can't get tipped. There's more variables as opposed to just handing the ball off to Mark Fletcher and you get beaten to death. So I don't know, Pete, what do you think? I think teams are going to play us like FSU played us.
Yeah, I agree. And then you just have to hope that the passing game stays efficient, which not only efficient, but it was explosive last game as well at certain points. And we'll talk about it here. I think you need someone else to emerge. Who could that be? In terms of being a consistent number 3 threat in the passing game. Because, we've wanted an Elijah Lofton to step up, for example. I think his role in the offense is what it is. Go ahead, D.
No, I'm saying hold it because we're going to talk about that. I want to get into that in a second, but just let's get these paid comments real quick, Pete, before we get off on that road, which is Big Mo saying our coaches need to call the opposite of what play they really wanted to call in the fourth quarter. That's a pretty good strategy there. Peony Boy saying, Pete, just chill. It was a BTA game. New nickname for Malachi, Tony Montana. I like how Miss Tony came with the Malahassee, the branding mind.
Dude, I would love when I get on those post games, I would love to just be yelling, hyped up the entire time. But that just wasn't the vibe at that time. It's hard to call it a BTA game when you win by 6 points. It really is, D. I don't know. By the way, and I know it's the nature of how the game played out, but they outgained Miami.
Well, so their outgained Miami banner is in print right now.
I can't call that a BTA game. That's all.
Big Mo saying state champs, national champs in the process. You did have a line, Pete. Do you have the tweet ready? The tweet from 2013.
Yeah, let me bring it up.
So Malachi, during the game, was wearing. Everybody had the eye black messages. You saw, cancer related messages for people with family dealing with that. I saw red rum from from Keelan Russell. So there were a lot of interesting messages on the eye black. But Malachi Tony had Gabos. And Pete has been on this for over 12 years. So Pete, break it down for us.
Yeah, November 8th, 2013. Game ain't based on sympathy. This is a Rick Ross line. As a lot of, as I think you pointed out the other day, D, that a lot of these phrases I speak, always have a tinge of Ross in it. But yeah, man, we can't have sympathy for where Florida State is at as a program right now. Right. We can't have sympathy for, if you're Malachi Tony, like I said the other day, he can't have sympathy for the other man lined up across from him. That's not what this game's based upon. So it's a great mentality to hold if you're one of the guys on the team. Malachi played to that standard the other night, and it's going to continue not being about sympathy. It's going to be based on the real, and that's what Malachi Tony is, and that's what this Miami Hurricanes team is showing to be.
Was he 5 when this tweet was made? How old was this guy? He must have been 5 or 6 when this tweet came out.
He's 18 now. Yeah, I mean, he was like 8 years old, 7 years old.
I think. Well, this was 2013, 12. Yeah, 5 or 6, I think, actually. So he was a lad. Lord Baconton, hear ye. Appreciate your support as always. Says, I love our team's mentality. They want to punch every team in the mouth. We're the new bullies on the college blocks across the country. We're taking lunch money and setting up shop on their home front. I love it. There it is. Gabos. Start the movement. All right, Pete. So you got into this and I cut you off, but I don't want to. I want to talk about it. So that third receiver spot, and when I say third receiver, let's just say third pass catcher, right? So we saw Malachi Tony emerge as a complete star. We talked about it off air. I think he's getting faster than we thought he was. Still a young guy. His dad was known for his speed, De La Brown. So it doesn't surprise you that a hard worker like that will get faster.
I believe it was pronounced De La.
De La. Thank you. Whole different speed you see from him, from Malachi. We know what he is. CJ Daniels, I think also a college star at this point. Those are 2 name brand receivers. If you're a college football fan, you know Malachi Tony, you know CJ Daniels. You've seen them on big stages do what they need to do, make spectacular plays. Okay. After that, your third leading receiver, Keelan Marion, had an opportunity for a really big play on the screen. Still made a nice run, but could maybe a little more patience, get a touchdown. He'll get many more opportunities than that.
It was a reverse, right?
Oh, sorry, on the reverse. He has caught some passes. He's done well as a receiver. Elijah Lawton, we talked about him building it up. We got more questions about Jojo Trader than any human being alive, including Carson Beck, Malachi Tony, Mark Fletcher, Ruben Bain, you name it. Could he be in the mix? With someone we haven't seen in a while, Ray, Josh Moore. I think Josh Moore is probably the biggest name I would highlight there. Nykar, Dalen Upshaw, just names we haven't heard. Chance Robinson step up. How do you see this third receiver playing out? Do you see Keelan Marion continue to elevate and be like, all right, I'm the third guy. I'm the guy that's going to make the plays. Elijah Lofton, one of these other names. Because right now you got 2 star players, and then you're looking for that third guy to really jump out.
I think Elijah Lofton is going to have more catches. I don't think the yards are going to be anything, crazy with him. I think he's again, what we've seen from him is what I think his role is going to be in the offense this year. And that's not to say he can't convert some touchdowns for us. He can't be a chain mover for us, but I think it'll be Marion, D. And I think Josh Moore pushes as well. We saw him getting some late snaps in the last game. We saw his impact against South Florida. And I think now with some of these reps here against ACC opponents, that's going to come to fruition. I quite frankly, D, and I'm just going to be honest here, I have a tough time seeing Jojo Trader emerging as that number 3 guy this year. Can he be someone who is a wide receiver 5 or 6, works himself into that sort of range for Miami this year? Yes, but at this point of the season, I just have a tough time seeing that. And I saw people earlier in the show complaining about the wide receiver rotation in this game. What did you want differently in this game, man? At wide receiver, what were they supposed to do in this one, man? I'm serious.
I didn't see a covered receiver the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where you would have liked to see another receiver in this one. Keelan Marion probably should have scored on that one. They were the offensive line were pretty upset at him, from what I understand after that one, because he's looking around. If he has any patience, just lets that thing set up and he hits it, then he's gone. But yeah, I think he's probably a pretty solid bet to be your number 3 the remainder of the year.
So here, I'll pull up the current numbers. This is what we're working with now, heading into the second bye. No surprise, Malachi Tony, number 1. CJ Daniels, number 2. 5 touchdowns for CJ Daniels. He could get double digits with the way he's playing and how good he is in the red zone. Then here you go. You have Keelan Marion and Elijah Lofton, both with 11 catches. Marion with 125 yards. Lofton with 100 yards. Neither has gotten in the end zone. And by the way, we forgot an important name, Pete, that I think we should have highlighted. And it's right here. Tony Johnson.
Yeah.
Only 3 catches, 84 yards, 28 average. He had a long 51-yarder, which shows the plays he's capable of making. I think we need to highlight Tony Johnson as a factor here because he's cut from the same cloth as CJ Daniels, just as far as the veteran maturity. He can run. He's made plays before. This is a name I think we need to highlight and keep an eye on because he is another guy who is just very, very reliable. And this is a team that's trying to win championships. So you kind of lean to your more reliable players at that point. So he's a name to highlight right off the top. Keelan Marion is currently in that role, so you have to give him that. And I think there's still more there with Keelan Marion, not just running the ball or not just receiving the ball, but also running the ball. He's got 2 carries for 35 yards. I think he can do even more than that. He still had that breakaway play, which I know he's capable of. So,
and there's a comment here from Trigger1 who says, I hate the Jojo slander. He's better than all these guys except maybe Molly and CJ. Nobody else did anything. Put that man in the game and see what happens. Look, we're not slandering Jojo. The fact of the matter is the head coach of University of Miami said he's not essentially not practicing hard enough and not doing what he needs to do in practice. So we're not slandering him. We want this kid to do well. He can be an important piece to the offense if he gets his stuff together essentially here. But to me, D, like to say this, that he's better based on what? Because the coaches are seeing it in practice, man. Like if he's balling out in practice, and doing what he's supposed to do, he's going to get more reps.
Yes, and so here's what I want to highlight. By the way, someone asked about the snap counts. 55 for CJ Daniels, 46 for Malachi Tony, Keelan Marion 38, so dominating the snap counts. And then you have Josh Moore with 10, Tony Johnson with 4. I think you're right. And people can be upset about it, but the coach told you what it is. Here's what I would add, though.
Hold on. Lauderdale Kane says, I'm hating. How am I hating? We haven't seen this kid play. Like how am I hating, D? And Lauderdale Canes, please tell me how I'm hating. We want this kid to succeed, but like, where's the hate? Like we there's a lot of questions about him, and then we just jump to the assumption that he's better based on what? Very talented player, but what are we supposed to say here, D?
Well, Trigger's saying, I heard from the same podcast, he's our best guy after every healthy practice he had. So in the spring, I was at practice.
I didn't say this. I didn't say this.
No, but you said. I mean, you saw it in the one-on-one.
No. I didn't push it as hard as you did, D. I'm sorry.
You know
that. You know that, D. You know that. You know what I told you before the season.
Before the season difference. So during spring, I said, yeah, this guy is making the most plays. He's the most athletic receiver we have, and he was the best. Like he was. Everybody, CJ Daniels hurt at that point. Malachi's a true freshman. We were saying this guy's, he was the focus. He looked like the best receiver. Now, in fall camp and summer, what changed? Who did you hear on this podcast every single time you tuned in? And people listening are probably saying it because they know Malachi Tony. Because the consistency of practice of Malachi Tony really took a whole nother level during that time. He was always consistent. So it wasn't even a change in that way. It's just the buildup of all the good work he had done. And by this camp, I said he's going to be our top receiver pretty emphatically. I believe we were the first to say it on this podcast, and we were pretty emphatic about it. And then CJ Daniels got healthy as well. And at that time, Jojo got hurt his ankle, and had to work back. I think what you heard from Mario, I'm not saying anything different than what Mario has said, is now here in this current unit, getting ready to play games, the practice performance needs to step up. And that's, again, there was no secret made about it. Now, here's the positive I will say about Jojo. We're talking about a bye week. So if you are going to make a move as Jojo Trader and show everybody, hey, I can do this. I'm going to perform at a consistent level that I can be trusted in the games. And once I get in the games, I'm going to ball out like I did against Iowa State. It's a bye week. You got plenty of time to show what you can do in that bye week, and then into the week for Louisville. ACC teams are not going to be able to cover us consistently. You want to get this group ready to potentially make a run in the playoffs. You need to develop other guys. I think Jojo has that opportunity here during this bye week to really show what he can do and to emerge as that guy. Because I think one thing that he brings, I think with Tony Johnson, very, very reliable. You know what he's going to do. I think he's going to be a guy you can count on. Marion, another veteran. Really, what I love about him is his ability to kill you on those screens, but he's improved a lot as a receiver. There's still more there. I think with Jojo, the quickness, and Josh Moore, big guy, can get downfield and jump over you. With Jojo Trader, the overall athletic ability, the separation ability, the ability to track the ball, I think that is something that he brings that is unique on this team. So he will have an opportunity to make that happen during this bye week and into game week. And look, Pete, everything you're saying is true, but we've seen this a million times. Guy has a good week of practice. Guy has a good game. And the whole narrative changes immediately. Mm-hmm. Like immediately. I've seen it happen a million times. Now, the best bets are the ones like, with the Malachi Tony where it's very consistent. But the light can't come on. And I think with Jojo, I'm optimistic that he's got a bye week to get to work. He's got more coming after that. He can really elevate himself, and that's what I hope happens.
Papa Cool says, if we're losing 6 receivers after the season, why put Jojo away to go for look in the portal for a receiver? No one's pushing Jojo away. Like, this is what's funny to me, man. Who the heck is pushing Jojo away? He just got to get on the field.
Yeah, trust me, nobody would rather have Jojo dominating than the Miami Hurricanes. First of all, they like Jojo. There's not a guy that's like a problem, like, with attitude and stuff, as far as like people want him out the building. He's not that. That's not the case. And everybody knows how talented he is. Everybody saw in spring and how valuable he was to what we were doing at that point with Emery and that crew. So I think it's about continuing to get healthy. And there's been health issues as well. And then taking advantage of this opportunity. I think that's what this whole thing is about, because we do need more to help Tony than Daniels. Daniels is going to be what he does, great routes. His dad was texting me, he's like, don't sleep on CJ Daniels' deep threat. And you saw him catch a deep ball from Carson Beck. So he has that deep threat ability as well. Malachi, we saw the speed at a level we didn't think he had. But I think another really highly athletic player who can take the top off and really threaten defenses and scare you. Jojo could provide that. We need him to have a really, really good week here and a really good ACC season. I think he's capable of it. And I hope that seeing Malachi Tony be the toast of the town is extra motivation. Not that he needs it to really show what he can do. So big week for Jojo.
And not to not to completely go away from this conversation, because it's not really what we're talking about, but I think shout out to Alex Bauman for stepping up a couple big catches. They were really happy with how he blocked as well. Had a nice block on a 4th down. So, I said it before the game, they weren't gonna decrease his reps in this one.
Yeah, no, he played great, and I think Lofton, especially on that second catch where he broke the tackle and accelerated for the first down, that looked more like the Lofton, just physically the way he was accelerating, like his short area explosiveness. To me, that looked the most like the Elijah Lofton that I'm used to seeing. So more of that, and he's not going to be your third deep threat necessarily, but he could be your third guy that defenses need to account for, because if Lofton is playing the way he played in spring with the way the offense is rolling, he could cause a ton of problems with him. Very much a health situation. Good point, though, by C. Marcus Smith. The Jojo situation sounds similar to the Samson situation. Fans outraged he didn't hit it like CeCe did right out the gate. Jojo will be fine. Tony's just special. There are some similarities. Samson, and they both dealt with injuries. Different kids, just different types of like personalities. But I could see that, and I think with Jojo, it's just about turning the narrative up. Have a great week this week. Have a great week leading up to Louisville. Burn their secondary, which stinks, and get your name out there. See, now I'm trying Louisville. I said I wouldn't trash the opponents anymore after we got through rivals, but now I'm trashing Louisville. But I think it's a big opportunity for Jojo and a lot of guys, Pete. Real quick, first of all, I want to thank somebody who was very, very important to that win on Saturday and the win the week before, to the game before against UF. That's Canes Connection, man. CanesConnection.com/CIS. Become a member, get the discount, make that /CIS in there. So you get all the normal benefits plus discounts at every single price point. So whatever price point you want to join, make sure you sign up CanesConnection.com/CIS. We would appreciate that if you put that /CIS in there, and we'd appreciate it extra, even more importantly, just signing up for Canes Connection, because we need everybody. If you're not on board, jump on board. If you are on board, thank you. I think you're seeing the results. Florida does not have as good players as Miami, not even close. FSU does not have as good players as Miami, not even close. And the biggest reason is right here, along with the staff, is CanesConnection.com/CIS. So everybody was a part of that. Thank you. You had a hand in those victories. If you want to have a hand in the next few victories, join CanesConnection.com/CIS. Don't let other people do it for you. Join in and make it happen. So I want to talk players of the game, Pete. And as I do, let's try to brand this segment. Let's do it professionally on this stream, and let's brand this segment. So the players of the game from Saturdays, I will call it thumping. I will call it a physical thumping of FSU. That was closer than it should have been on the scoreboard. But the players of the game from that thumping are brought to you by U Health Sports. If you consider yourself an athlete or just an active guy like Pete playing soccer every Saturday, you know how hard it is to sit on the injured list with pain or injury, maybe even try to hack your own rehab, get back early. But if compromising your movement or performance is not an option, call the experts at the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. Whether it's elite competition with University of Miami athletics or just everyday movement, the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute is the trusted choice for those who demand excellence. Set an appointment today at uhealthsports.com. All right. So my player of the game. We had a comment on YouTube where someone said, you guys need to show love to Wesley Besaint. He is balling. And you know what? The guy was right, because we talked about it, but I don't think we talked about it enough. So I am going to announce my player of the game for this FSU victory, Wesley Besaint, because this guy has gotten better every single year. He's worked extremely hard. Came in. It's funny, you go to ESPN, he's listed at 205. This guy's 230. He's really worked on his body, just on his overall game. He's fast, extremely physical. I mean, his ability to strike and knock guys back is vicious. The late hit that he got, he really crushed the guy. Blake kind of pushed it out, and he tripped and ended up being a penalty. But he is clean, physical hits. The stats, I don't think, show the full ability at 22 tackles on the season with 1.5 tackles for loss. He has been outstanding. Run, pass, he's been solid. Tackling, like we said, has been great. He recovered the onside kicks. I'm very bullish, not just on Wes, but on this entire linebacker and safety room. And before we move on to your player of the game, Pete, this linebacker and safety these rooms, from where we were last year to where we are this year and where we've been in recent history to what we are right now, I think it's been a while. You probably have to go back to those Manny Diaz defenses when the linebackers and safeties were this dialed up. Fast, physical, assertive, NFL players all over the place, and just it looks the part with those two groups.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think before the game, I think my predictions were Marquise Lightfoot, which he had a pretty quiet game for the most part, and Wesley Besaint. I said Wesley Besaint would be a big one here, so I'm glad he showed that. I think I got to go Malachi Toney. I'm not going to overthink it here. That's my player of the game.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good one. And Jacoby Thomas, you could put that conversation as well. He's been outstanding. Lord Bacon's and West been putting big hits up all year nonstop. That's right.
Vladdy Garcia asking if he's an NFL linebacker. Yeah, he'll be drafted. He'll be drafted probably 5th, 6th type round, man, because he can run.
Yeah, no, he can run. He can hit. He's got the size now. And I'll tell you, Jacoby Thomas. I know we're jumping around, but just talk about these linebackers and safeties. Jacoby Thomas is faster than I thought. I thought he was going to add physicality to the secondary, set a tone. He's certainly done that. I think his attitude's infectious. He posted the Sean Taylor picture the other day after the game. He just has that kind of nasty edge. He talked about not being satisfied because of what you said, Pete, kind of letting their foot off the gas late. He said it was a quiet locker room because they let the foot off the gas, which is great to see from one of your leaders who just had a game of his life, really. But the thing I'm most surprised by with him is the overall athleticism and speed with Jacoby Thomas. I mean, he is not just a hitter; he can do a lot.
Yeah, he and talking to people around the program, they're like, he's a better player than he was at Tennessee. He's a great fit for the scheme. He's just shown them more. They obviously thought he was good enough to play here if they brought him in. But I said this when it happened. There was almost like hey, like, we really like this guy, but why is Tennessee kind of letting him walk? Like, Tennessee didn't really try to bring him back. So great evaluation. He's a great fit in what they want to do with Corey Heatherman here. I saw a comment here from Al Lewis, said, did you guys see Jadeus Richard with 1 tackle on the stat sheet? And I looked it up. He was in the box score there. I just checked on it. That was a mistake. He did not play in the game.
God, thank you for clearing that. Thank you for clearing that up, and hopefully he continues to heal up. Poyser,
he's healthy. He's healthy. He wasn't on the injury report.
Okay, there you go. The trigger saying Poyser played very disciplined football, improved a lot from game 1. Absolutely. He was flying out there, run, pass. I think Poyser's a really good player, man. I mean, we had him last year. It's like we're watching 2 different teams, man. I mean, just the physicality from that secondary, from the linebackers, consistent, the assertiveness and the confidence of what they're playing. I mean, they were so confused last year. I think even more than like, hey, these guys are tough, the last guys are soft. I mean, I don't get into that kind of simple analysis. Like, these guys some of the same guys are playing a lot better. It seems that just knowing what they should be doing, and then the competitiveness of the group. Everybody wants to be the physical guy on film. No one wants to be the one missing tackles. It's just making guys play even better on top of adding guys that you didn't have last year, like a Jacoby Thomas and a Mo Toure. That group, again, is just really, really strong. Just Jay says best in the country. We'll see. I mean, Ohio State's pretty good with those guys, but I think when you compare it to last year, it is just totally, totally different. And in a game like this, where, Pete, eye candy everywhere, just a lot of opportunities for these guys to make big mistakes. They really didn't make them. They open field tackles when FSU did break a play, which was rare. They got the guy down to the ground. There were no 70-yard touchdowns in this ball game or anything like that. So just an outstanding performance by that secondary and by that linebacker group.
Yeah, and Bryce Fitzgerald. We'll talk about him here in a second, just more in detail. What a weapon it is, because those sort of guys. You think of these offensive gadget players. He's almost like a gadget player on defense because he's so, with the range that he has, the ability to take away so much of the field and be a legit ball hawk back there. You put him in there for those passing situations and feel fantastic about it. But I want to shout out also like a Dylan Day. Obviously, he had that targeting call, but there's been little moments this year where you see the flashes from him and you see the physicality with him. I really like what they're developing there as well. And look, Bryce, it seems like they're grooming him to be the guy here at some point this year, but it's going to be hard to take Poyser and Thomas off the field, man.
No doubt about it. Popo Gira too. We're talking about linebackers.
I've said Popo from camp, man. He wasn't someone that we talked about a ton, but I kept hearing like the coaches trust him, right? And he played Notre Dame game. He had a couple big tackles as well in the open field. He's very smart, like lines the defense up, knows where, he's not only where he's supposed to be, but helps the guys around him as well. So real depth at important positions here.
From an authentic Cuban linebacker to an authentic Cuban restaurant, Islas Canarias Express, the #1 Cuban restaurant on the planet. You get right there in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion. You got 7 different types of croquetas, tostones, loaded fries, soups, the cubaritos to grab and go. Of course, all the classic sandwiches, the medianoche Cuban sandwich, pan con minuto, you name it, they got it. With the minuta, the pan con lechon, they got the whole deal here. The drinks, the coffee, little like the whole arsenal here between the colada. If you really need some juice, if you need actual juice, they got the mango juice. If you need a shake, the batido de mamey is the sugar rush. They got the whole deal at Islas Canarias Express, the #1 Cuban restaurant on the planet. Pete, I know someone who is probably going to Islas Canarias a ton. Columbus, Belen, he was out there. That's Bryce Fitzgerald. You talked about him a little bit. Another one where I think you'd listen to this show or watch this show, We were talking about that nonstop during camp. This is somebody who didn't play in spring. We started hearing buzz in summer. We reported that. And then once we got to camp, I mean, every single day, Pete, when we talked about it, it was the first thing I said, hey, if it wasn't Malachi Tony and the plays he was making or some of the older players, we were saying, man, Bryce Fitzgerald is getting picks every single day. And he literally was getting picks. When I say literally, I don't mean like how kids now say literally and they really mean figuratively. I mean, he was literally making picks every single practice. Said he finished with 13 or something on the for all of camp. Absurd. And we've seen that in the games. 3 picks. Seeing this guy move around. He tackled better on Saturday. I thought he showed some physicality. You know, what kind of ceiling do we see with the Bryce Fitzgerald now that we've seen him play and do what he's done?
Oh, I mean, high first round type of talent there. It's going to continue to be, you know, in terms of his development, how much physicality does he continue to add? I think someone, Deepwater, said he looks a little light out there. I mean, look, he's a true freshman safety, who's more of obviously in the coverage vein. So you understood that that's going to be the thing with him that I guess like limits. When I say limit, you know, we see him out there on the passing situations, but the stuff that's keeping him off the field, you know, pretty much on every play would be that. But he's shown when he's needed to tackle, at least he's had a couple tackles this year, and he's been fine. This is the thing from Deepwater. He's listed at 185 from before the season. So I think probably in that 185, 190 range. But I think he'll continue to add it naturally. And he's one of those guys, quite frankly, that I don't want to see him get up to like 205 this offseason just to get up to 205, D.
No, and there you go. Kirk Menendez with the breakdown. The most interceptions by a Miami Hurricanes freshman is 4, achieved by Donald Ellis in 1985. He already has 3 in 5 games.
Someone was telling me, someone's like, hey, he finishes the season with 7 or 8 at this rate. He might be an All-American just because that's how this stuff goes.
Yeah,
certainly a freshman All-American, but
I don't think he's small. I mean, I've seen him like up close.
Yeah, he's 180. I wouldn't say that either. Yeah.
Like I saw someone saying he's 170. He's 180 plus. I think he might look smaller just because of like how he moves, because he's just so fluid and easy with how he moves. But I think he will be, when it's all said and done, somewhere in that 190 range, like 190 plus.
Yeah, but But you see what I'm saying? Like, I like how he moves at this weight. I don't want him to just be like when you just put weight on just to say you've gotten bigger. I think it compromises what makes him special. And I don't think that's what they're going to do with him. But
no, definitely not. But I do think like there's room on his frame to get bigger without bulking up too much. You know, like he's not a naturally small guy when you see him. And I think like Dan points out here, his open field tackling's progressed. He had a couple nice tackles, had a nice hit on a pass that was incomplete. The thing with him too is I've seen him line up on guys and cover like he is a corner basically. I mean, he's just as fast as our other corners. You put him at corner. To me, he's pretty much he's very similar like an Ethan O'Connor, you know, and I say that as a compliment because Ethan O'Connor is doing a really, really nice job. Bryce is that kind of smooth ball hawking corner. He's in that style of cornerback when he's not playing safety. So this is a guy that
remember when he was coming in, we were trying to figure out would he be a corner or safety,
right? Because we were saying he's going to be physical enough, and so far so good on that front. He's doing needs to keep on progressing, but. Yeah, man, ceiling-wise, I mean, Cam Kitchens was an All-America. Cam Kitchens was probably a better tackler at this stage, even with Bryce's improvements there. But I think athletically, Bryce has a major advantage of speed, change of direction, smoothness. Ball hawking, probably both pretty similar. But when you combine the ball hawking that both of those guys have with the speed and just pure athletic ability that Bryce has, I think that takes him to another level from a coverage standpoint.
Lots of comments about the officiating, the lack of holding calls. I have a little bit of intel on that. So this ACC officiating crew was 3rd in the ACC in holding calls on the offense. So there was a bit of a surprise that there were none called in this game. I'll say that in Miami's favor. And then the holding on Lofton, that they didn't think that was necessarily a holding. But yeah, definitely there was a lot of surprise there about the lack of holding calls.
Yeah, no question about it. That was bad. I mean, you see on the film, they were getting held. Bain got held multiple times. Messidor, there was no question who the better unit was when you talk about the defensive ends against the tackles, and they certainly were holding on for dear life. One of those things. I think the officiating's been bad a couple weeks in a row. That Marty Brown call last game was egregious. Wasn't as egregious this game, but it wasn't good. Thankfully, it was a dominant win, so didn't end up mattering. But yeah, not very good. And as we know, a lot of the penalties were legit and or mental errors. So not going to just only blame the refs, because we committed penalties that were penalties, right? So yes, there were some that were not called on FSU, but the ones called on us, I think for the most part, were pretty much right on, and we just got to do a better job of avoiding some of those.
DWB talking about Keontae Scott, saying he played outstanding. I think he also said back here a moment ago that he thinks he's a legit nickel corner at the next level. This was a guy, and we said it when this pickup happened, D, was a third, fourth round type prospect a couple years ago at Auburn. We're not even seeing him as a punt returner, which is another part of his game that he has as part of his arsenal. But he's a legit NFL guy without a doubt. I think the size, he's got legit coverage ability in the slot, and the ball skills are really, really good.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's playing great. He's playing hard, high energy. He fits right in with the personality of the defense. He's very decisive. He sees it. He hits it. He's been experienced. He's an experienced player on top of having good instincts and studying the game. I don't know what more you want from a nickel. He's fast enough to cover guys down the field. He's very, very sudden and quick. He's not afraid to tackle. In fact, he likes to tackle. His blitzing's been good. He's been awesome, man. I mean, we talked about the safeties and the linebackers, throw the nickel group in there, and that's basically been Keontae Scott. I don't know, like backing up says he's pretty complete. I agree. I don't know what he's missing. And then what he's definitely not missing is snaps. I mean, he plays constantly. His gas tank is crazy. Probably it's something we need to do during this ACC stretch is develop another nickel. Not because we want to take him off the field, just because, man, he plays a lot. He needs a lot of help. I'll tell you someone who can play on the nickel, and this is right here, Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald, you probably don't want him the nickel because he's so deadly with his range, but he's good enough cover guy to play on the nickel too. Maybe the physicality you'd want to improve, just the decisive tackling, but he's definitely good enough to cover guys. Zed Bacon and asking, what do you think about Fitzgerald being 200? It's not impossible. He is big when you see him in person, Pete. He's not a small framed guy. Like if I compare him to like Jaquan.
Yeah, but I don't think that adding 15 pounds just to say he's 200 is the best move right now.
No, you got to see how it develops. You just got to see how the body develops, right? Some of this stuff is you just kind of see it. Jack says, go support these kids at the Miami Hurricane team store. Lots of signed memorabilia available. Thank you for the seg. I didn't even need to do anything. There's a lot of signed memorabilia available at the Miami Hurricane team store, MiamiHTS.com. You don't have to be a local. You just got to go to MiamiHTS.com. But if you are local, right there across the street from the University of Miami, look at the deals on the hats. You can buy one hat, get 150% off. Again, you got the promo code INSIGHT20, which is going to get you 20% off your first item. And you got all the signed stuff. Look at the memorabilia here that is signed. All the helmets, all the mini helmets. These are current players, old players. Jojo, he's got his stuff right here. So you want to be ahead of the curve before that price goes up after a great performance this weekend. Get it, Mark Fletcher, Ruben Bain, you name it, at the Miami Hurricane team store. And I did see a comment.
Next weekend.
You listen, I saw a comment from
You said this weekend, next weekend. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right. But the stock is going to go up now here in practice, I believe.
After a big week of practice.
That's what I'm waiting for. Someone was asking me, I think it was Ozell was saying, why are you guys hating on Jojo? We love Jojo. Everybody wants Jojo to ball. We can't say it's
we had another comment from Michael Montalvo that I got to in the comments, and he said, so Jojo's for sure transferring. We never said anything like that whatsoever.
Yeah, this is a week. It's now. I'm saying it's now or never, but it's now. Let's go.
I just think to that statement, dude, if he doesn't play the rest of the year, then we have to assume he probably is going to transfer. But that's not where the situation is at right now. That's any player. That's not him.
That's any player. Him. Yeah. So big week for Jojo. And again, I'll remind people when he has, I say when, because I'm going to be positive here, when he has a great week of practice, when he has a great week of game prep, and then when he has a great game against Louisville, the whole narrative changes overnight. Internal, external, you name it. It's a whole different ballgame. That's just kind of how these things work. So he's got to worry, and not that he cares what we're saying on the CanesInSight live here on YouTube. But, if he just stays with his process and has a great week, good things will happen. And I think he can do that. He's capable of it. We need him. So excited to see him. Lord Baconton asking, who would win in a race? And I'm going to appreciate all your support. Who would win in a race between Keontae Scott, Bryce Fitzgerald, and Damari Brown? Keontae Scott's pretty fast. He was a 10.9 guy in high school. I don't know what Damari Brown ran. He's not really as much of a track guy, but I would say Fitzgerald. He was a 10.7 guy in high school. I would say Fitzgerald in that race. What do you think, Pete?
Fitzgerald, yeah.
So let's talk a little recruiting. I want to talk a little recruiting because we see all these guys over the course of their recruiting process, and we sort of forget about them, right? Like they commit, say thanks, we look forward to seeing you in spring or whenever they enroll, and we focus, of course, on the team and the next recruits, which is normal. But I think what we want to do here on this show is talk about guys who are playing well, who are playing games, who are putting out film, and who are developing, and just highlight different guys. And Pete, I don't know if you have anybody. I know you track this closely on your Discord, the work Discord, if you're not following already.
I dropped the work last night. I don't know if you saw it. So
there you go, right there on the Discord. And before we get into this recruiting spotlight is powered by KashKick, KashKick. If you want to go for the rare win-win-win situation, check out this Play It Forward promotion with KashKick, KashKick. Again, one of the biggest apps on the planet, over 1.5 million downloads, 4.5 plus average rating on the App Store. You download KashKick, remember that's K, not C, KSH Kick. You get all these games on one app. So you got puzzle games, RPG games, coloring books, crossword puzzles, you name it, sports, whatever kind of game you're into, they got it on KashKick. It's all there organized for you, so you could just pick the games you like to play. And when you play those games, get some extra money on the side. Right there to your account, all legit. You can sign in with Google, Facebook, PayPal, whatever you want to sign in, all legit ways to do it. Make some extra money on the side just by playing games. And then this is the third part of the win-win-win. The Play It Forward American Cancer Society, the advertisers will match their donations. Whatever you're making, the advertisers will match it with donations to the American Cancer Society. So you make your money, you play your games, and then the American Cancer Society gets a donation from someone else's money based on your playing. So win-win-win situation. Play It Forward. That is KashKick, KashKick on the App Store. So on the KashKick recruiting spotlight, I'm going to focus on someone who's got a lot of attention, but not enough because it's never enough. And that is Jackson Cantwell. He was playing Kickapoo High School. Peter, if you know what Kickapoo High School in Missouri?
I'm not familiar with Kickapoo.
Well, that was who we played this weekend. So these weekend's games. See him getting to the second level here. He's number 71, as if you can't tell. One thing when you watch all this guy's highlights, the thing that jumps out is his hands. You see him just pushing guys, and the guy's flying. This is all he does in his highlights. I mean, there's technique, there's everything else you want to see. But every highlight you see, his hands, he just tosses guys. And look at this guy. When he actually pushes guys, they go flying. I've never seen anything like it. You could tell this guy's one of the best shot putters of all time and benches however much he bent, 225, 31 times, whatever he does, because this guy's hands are, and power through his hands is unique. I mean, look at this poor 79. It's like a little kid. He pushes guys like little kids and they go flying. The technique is there, but just the hands are so good. Look at this poor guy. Look at this guy. His ability to knock guys around with his push and his power in his hands is, again, I've never seen anything like it. I know the competition is not always going to be playing in the ACC and in the Power 4 level, but when you have this kind of power verified by a shot put, and you could just push guys and they fly, that translates. Unique power from Jackson Cantwell. He's working on his game, constantly working on technique. Mirball's up there. He's solid to the Canes. I know he's loving what he's seeing. I'm sure he thinks he made the right decision. But man, we were going to miss Malinois's power on the right side, but I think you're replacing it on the right side with this dude. Not saying he's going to be as good as Malinois as a junior, as a freshman. But you look at Malinois as a freshman and what he gave you, I think Cantwell can give you some of that stuff.
Yeah, obviously, I think it's going to be a pretty stark transition for him once he sees this. The speed and power at the next level. But he's got the tools to deal with it. So I think there's always a learning curve, but there's going to be a speed curve that I think Samson had to deal with as well we saw that transition. I don't think it'll be as stark of a transition for him though when he gets here, D. Because he's mentally so not Samson's the same way in terms of his work ethic, but like I just see a little bit. I see something different with Cantwell in that respect. Like I told you, he pretty much knew the offenses fully for all the teams he was being recruited by there at the end. Like he could have probably stepped in and understood the concepts right away if he was a player right now. So that's the attention to detail for him is very, very unique.
Yeah, 30 plus ACT guy. Like I think like as a sophomore, he was getting that ACT score. So he is his mental game is great. But I would say Samson is also in that same category with the mental game. I think the big difference between a Cantwell and Samson as far as immediate impact, and we'll see. I mean, he's got to do it. But I think when you look at Francis playing early versus Samson playing later, I think the pure power that Malinois had and then what Cantwell has is going to help him physically translate a little bit earlier. Just the ability to just touch guys and they go flying. The power in his hands, I think, is going to that's the thing that's a big adjustment for high school offensive linemen is just the pure power of dealing with these big guys. They got to get that in the weight room. They got to get that with technique. But I think with this guy, he really gives you that earlier than later, I would say. Shout out to my guy, Chris. Got over 1,500 on right now. Like and subscribe to the show. We got a surprise coming here in a little bit. You can maybe text your boy here, P, while we're waiting for a potential surprise here. Felipe is saying, his measurements, genetics, Mario Mirabal equals perennial Pro Bowler. I like that combo. Jonathan Levy, appreciate your support. Good morning, guys. We'd love to see Lyle involved in the passing game and runs outside. You think we're hiding some creativity for later in the season? Pete, we talked about this off air, but you think that it's possible that there's more, like just watching this running game based on what you've seen, you think there's more meat on the bone as far as, hey, maybe on maybe going forward, the outside running game, which we know Miami's not going to be living on the outside because of the fact they just don't want to lose yards on carries. They don't want to be behind the sticks. But you think that that's something that could be a weapon for us going forward?
Yeah, I think, we've talked about, because every game it's been like, hey, like, are they going to open up the offense? Like, is it going to look any different? And I think we saw them take deep shots last game and convert on them, but we saw them take some deep shots in other games as well. They didn't necessarily hit on. So I don't know that the game plan was all that different there. I do think that some of the wide zone stuff, you'll see that come into play here more as the season progresses. Jordan Lyle, let's talk about him real quick, just because he was part of that comment. I think, not a super explosive game for him, not a super explosive game from any of our running backs, but it was good to see him really start to tote the rock. And you give him 12 carries there, a lot of them later in the game. But you just want to see how his body reacts to taking those hits. Obviously, they actually must have been listening to our shows with Steve Kim on Thursdays, because Steve has been advocating for how we use Jordan Lyle the other day as the cleanup guy later in the game when defenses are tired. Yeah,
I think that's an option. It's like the Betty Wright song, the cleanup woman. No, he could be the cleanup man for this team. But I think just in general, they're trying to get him going to find his timing. He's still a little off, I think, on timing. His body's right. His timing now needs to get right in the ACC, because you're going to need everybody. This is a long season. That's why we talk about Jojo, trying to develop him, trying to develop Lyle for the long term. This is a long-term deal. Pete, we had a couple comments I want to get to, but first, another player to highlight who I think is a really interesting young player who you've talked about on the Work Discord, and that is Jontavius Wyman. Here's some clips from his last game, or at least the last game that he posted. I think with Jontavius Wyman, the cornerback commit from Atlanta, the big question is, how do you use him? Because as we watch here, I think of Philip Buchanan, that this athleticism with the Wyman is pretty unique. And we haven't had a ton of guys like this at corner that are just, did you see that? Did you see that?
I've been telling you I want him on offense more than defense. I think
look at this last move, Pete. Look at I've never seen this before. Have you ever seen this move? Look at this. He just kind of like ducks him and keeps his balance.
It's just like a broken tackle to me. I don't know.
Well, his eyes are like looking like at the other end zone. Look how low he is. Good balance, man. Really nice balance there.
Dude, he's I don't know what he's running like if he just lined up and ran, either track or a 40, but his ability with the ball in his hands, his yak is crazy, and the ball skills too. He's not that big, but here he is getting physical. I like that.
Yeah, no, that's what you need as far as being a corner. Which, look, I think if he can be physical enough to be a corner, having that athleticism is just something we just have not had at that level in a while. I think you think of, different positions, Pete, but watching these highlights, what kind of reminds me of that we just talked about? Bryce Fitzgerald. Remember, we watch his highlights every week, and it was speed at receiver, big plays on the defensive side where he's getting interceptions and taking them to the house. Special teams, that was really what we saw more from Bryce than him just laying the wood against everybody. So I think at some point the athleticism takes over, and that's what Bryce brings, is that special athleticism. I think Wyman is that, and you're continuously upgrading the athleticism of your secondary, bringing in guys like this who play all over. Bryce was like this too. You see him on offense. You've seen him on special teams. You've seen him on defense. This is one game. This is a game highlight, and he's playing real big boy football. This is Atlanta. This is no joke. Nice tackle there. This is real deal football. Banged up, but I guess he's fine. He came back in. But this is interesting film, I think, Pete. Do you see him ultimately on offense or defense?
I see him on defense, just how they're talking, but I would like to get this guy the ball in his hands.
And he's got so much life in those feet. I mean, look how much separation.
Man.
They look like one of your soccer players when they're surrounded by somebody, they pop out. What do you call that when someone's like surrounded and they just kind of like pop out?
I mean, I don't know if there's a phrase for that, but
class. That's class. What I would say. I like that.
Good.
Oh, look at him breaking tackles here, man. Look at him breaking tackles.
I find it hard to believe that this guy, you wouldn't try to get him the ball.
Interception, you get the ball yourself. But yeah, man, he is. I'm impressed by. Dude, this is a ball game this guy's had. This is not like our midseason highlights here. This is like the actual last game he played. And he's I've seen a pick six. I've seen 2 long touchdowns. I've seen a great return. See some tackles, man. He is a dude, man. Shout out to him. Start comment I want to get to. Oh, actually, hold on. Clutch said this off the top, and we should get to this here, which is Cam Ward game-winning drive, Andy Borregales game-winning kick, which would have been good from 80. Beat FSU. We up. I thought both of these were huge. I want to give both these guys props. So with Cam Ward, obviously a lot of adversity. He had the very candid press conference, which that's how he is, man. He's going to keep it real. And he responded by not at first. He had a tough game, but then that fourth quarter, outstanding, making throws that we've seen him make a million times, keeping his poise, getting some good fortune as well, but ultimately getting the win and really, I think, turning around the momentum for that team, for that organization. He is that kind of guy with the flair for the dramatic. So happy to see Cam Ward do it. And then Borregales, man, P, we were worried about him getting cut when he missed those. I
was. When I saw them give him the game ball after that game to prop his spirits up, I felt good that they weren't going to cut him. Obviously, they invested a draft pick in him. And Andy's a dog, man. I think how he responded to that moment, hopefully here sets him up for the rest of his career. Big one last night. We saw how pumped up he was. Crazy. I mean, that was a big win for New England. I can't believe they won that game, actually. But Drake May, man, coming along. He's good.
Big athlete, playmaker. You know what it is. So Big Mo, this is my favorite kind of comment, man. The guy's he's supporting the show. First of all, thank you, Big Mo, as always. And then he's hitting us up with the plug. He's setting up the plug, man. You can't get a better comment than that one right there from my guy, Big Mo. You don't have to call. I know you like to call everybody big. So he's Big Mo. Big Mo. Big Mo. As we got our guest here, Pete. So get him ready because I'm excited to talk about what's coming next year. Just get him in the booth. But yeah, man, it's Duffy's. It's where the elite meet to eat. There you see it. Look at this. Look at the decor. I'm not going to show you the promotion, just right there. Look at that, where the elite meets the E. You see all these tables that got pictures going back to the 70s, 80s. You see all kinds of old legendary players, coaches. I talked to Dennis Erickson. So when Dennis Erickson came to Miami for the Florida game, where he was inducted into something, he was getting some kind of honor, 2-time national champion. Shout out to Dennis Erickson. I don't know where he would have been inducted. He's been inducted everywhere, but he was down there with his son, and we met at Duffy's, the big event at Duffy's, and Dennis Erickson was laughing about how often he used to go to Duffy's back in the day. So this is like the home of the Hurricanes. There you see the watch party for the Bills game. That one didn't turn out so good for the Dolphins, but if you want to see Dolphins watch parties, they got him there.
I was at that one. That was a good time though.
Canes watch parties, and this Saturday, I mean, there's no Canes game. There's actually no Canes game for the next 2 Saturdays because the Louisville game's on Friday. So you want to spend your Saturdays watching college football all day? Duffy's Tavern, right there on the edge of Coral Gables. That's Pete's home away from home. And you can just post up there, watch games all day. Johnny Lagoon says, I need that Duffy's burger. I need that Duffy's ale. Big Mo, Big Mo. He will be there on Saturday. I might post up there too. Finally not traveling. I'm excited to be at home to watch college football nonstop. And, no better place to watch college football nonstop than at Duffy's. So I would love to be out there at Duffy's. See Nick West talking about Drake May, multi-sport athlete. You already know, man, Nick. That's my guy. I love Drake May. I always have. Loved him when he was I hated him in North Carolina because he'd kill us, but loved the prospect. He is big. He's a basketball player, basketball family. I know you watched his brother Pete at UNC. Tough. Really, I think the only thing he needed was reps because he didn't have the best, to me, experience at North Carolina, meaning like he didn't play a ton. He started 2 years, so it wasn't like he had no experience, but I thought he could have had probably more reps at the college level and he would have gotten into college at the pros at a higher level. But he's kind of getting those reps with New England. But what you love about him is he took all those hits, all those bad moments, and now he's breaking through. And how about the conference of quarterbacks, Pete? Drake May getting it done. Cam Ward leading his team on a comeback. We already know Lamar Jackson is one of the best players in the game. Hopefully gets well soon. So the conference of quarterbacks doing their thing with some more on the way. Maybe Carson Beck, next man up from the ACC. Tyler Shuck, I don't know if he's playing anytime soon. Well, that New Orleans situation's a muck. Who else do we got? We had a lot at one point from ACC. I think the ACC quarterbacks have kind of died down a little, but Cam, Drake, Lamar, yeah, those are the three that I think are doing their thing. All right, Pete. So you want to make the announcement?
You can make the announcement while I get the screen changed here.
All right, I'll change the logo because we're doing something a little different, guys. Which is we've noticed that. First of all, we love college football, right? I watch every single game I can. Me and Pete and everybody kind of outside. We talk as much college football as we talk Canes. So during portal season, we did something called Group Chat Sports. You can go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. In fact, I'll pull it up while we're talking. The Group Chat Sports channel, because we got almost 2,000 subscribers on there. We're covering the portal both periods heavily, and we really talked a lot about not just the big transactions, but the little ones. And doing that, I think, has allowed us to really learn a lot about college football in general because you're keeping track of where guys come from, where guys are. There you see the channel right there, Group Chat Sports. Remember, please support us. Even if you don't want to watch, support us, like and subscribe to that channel because people have been asking, when are you going to kick it up? You guys did so many videos during portal season. Now it's time to really pick up the pace. And I think the time is perfect, especially with it being a bye week. Now, what we needed to really pick up the pace. And we do these shows. We've been talking college football at the end. We got 1,600 on live now. I know some of you guys only want to talk Canes, and if that's the case, that's cool. We save it for the end. But at the end, we'd love to talk college football. So we figured, why not just take this to the whole next level and talk college football there every single chance we get at the end of the shows under that group chat banner. Look at that, Pete. Already changed everything, man. Look at that production. Shout out to you. And really break down who's where, who's doing what. Not just the stuff you see on ESPN, but maybe more detailed, more specific guys that don't get all that talk right on this channel. And we needed the guy. And we know that not everybody is that Malachi Tony blue chipper, right? Who just pops right away. But we found somebody who we think is that Malachi Tony. Pete was the one who discovered him, quite frankly. And then quickly I became a convert. And everybody who heard him on the show last week became a convert. Never heard more feedback. We've had Mario on. We've had ESPN personalities on. We've had everybody you want to name on our show. And I don't think we ever got so much feedback on a guest as we did on this last guest, the one, the only, call him the Fink, Clay Fink. How we doing? Whoa, there he is. Whoa, there he is.
There we go. There we go.
How we doing?
There we go. I'm doing well. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
So Clay is an FSU student. We made it through FSU week, still friends. I said some very inflammatory things, but the week is done. It kind of played out like we expected. I mean, you were very even-handed about it. You're an FSU fan. I want to clarify because people are like, "Oh, Fink's a closet Miami fan." You are an FSU fan. You see it on Twitter. You are an FSU fan. You're cheering like crazy for FSU, but you are very even-handed. And I think the game turned out very similar to how you were talking about the game and how we were talking about the game, which is, and we'll break down all the other games. Let's start right here. No better place to start with some Miami and FSU people on as the crowd's going crazy for the Fink right here. The trenches. Yeah. The trenches kind of came out the way we thought. So explain to me how you saw this FSU game with all the film study you did.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the most lopsided trench matchups I've seen in a while, to be perfectly honest. I've seen some controversy on Twitter from certain FSU media members who maybe disagree. I don't think so.
I'll say the name, Coach Staples. I'm still trying to figure out what he was talking about.
He's a coach. He knows, I'm sure he's got some more, pass protection rules and stuff, understanding. But yeah, man, I mean, it was they out physicaled you. I think kind of what flipped that and took it over the edge is they lost Micah Pettis, and FSU's shifting their entire offensive line because they don't have the backups, the high-end backups that are ready to play. So you're kicking a 7th-year guard from UCF out to right tackle who cannot play right tackle. You're bringing in your Harvard transfer to play right guard. And sure enough, both of those guys, and additionally your left tackle, had the lowest graded games of their collegiate careers despite being all 6th or 7th-year seniors with 100-plus games of experience. I posted it. The craziest stat, I think, of the game is offensive line pressures allowed. So that's not factoring in the running backs and tight ends, which was also really rough in pass protection for FSU. The FSU offensive line allowed 24 pressures. The Miami offensive line allowed 2. I believe they were both Inez Cooper, maybe McCoy, I'm not sure. But regardless, just completely outmatched in the trenches. I've seen a few things about how maybe the run game wasn't a mismatch. Well, it was, because Miami, FSU, they did exactly what FSU was trying to get them to do. FSU didn't want to get the ball run down their throat by Mark Fletcher every play. They sold out to stop the run, and they did stop the run at the expense of the pass. It reminds me of 2 years ago in 2023, the rules were reversed. And I remember FSU and Miami fans getting into it on Twitter about, Miami stopped the FSU run game. And now, you know what happened. It was the same thing. They sold out to stop the run, and the roles are reversed, and nobody wants to admit it. But, FSU fans, that's not something to hang your hat on, in my opinion, is holding them to under 100 rushing yards in that game. I think it was just a total mismatch. And
D actually said the same thing. D said the same thing about
you said it like the guy Doc Staples. I mean, obviously he's a coach. So coaches, look, no one knows the game more than the coaches who that's their life and are the people who played at a high level. That does not mean they're right when they say things, because coaches are wrong all the time, as we know. So it's that I always make that distinction. Yes, coaches know the most.
Yeah.
That does not mean they're right all the time. In fact, we know very well they're not right all the time. That's the way these things go. Now, the thing I think you said is the whole premise of it is if you are selling out to stop the run, you are admitting that there is a trench mismatch. So just because you stopped the run, and by the way, they were effective in doing that, that was what they had to commit numbers to do, which exposed the secondary a little bit. And I think there might be other teams as we get further down the line that are probably more suited to handle that. But I thought, if FSU had some of the guys they had last year, Thomas, some of those guys, it might have helped them out a little. I think the secondary talent, I think for FSU, and just look at obviously the high point of the season where you went undefeated, won the ACC, and then the last year still having some good secondary. I think this year probably a downward trend in the secondary to
Yeah.
me was one of the big factors in this game.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna like call for Pat Surtain's job or anything, but I do think it's at some point it's something to monitor. I mean, he had this incredible recruiting class. These guys are sophomores now. You have 3 top 125 recruits, top 10 corners in Charles Lester, Kai Bates, Jamari Howard. You bring in Shamar Anu this year as a true freshman. He's gotten some burn. And ultimately, they felt they needed to bring in Jerry Wilson in the spring portal. And he, the Houston transfer, he was probably the consensus best player on the team entering the season. And now I posted this as well. He's basically matched his yards allowed stats from 12 games last year through 5 games this year. He allowed 4 catches for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game against Miami. He looked lost, man. I mean, there's a few reps, and it's really scary because he's undersized. His whole thing is his change of direction, his speed. Well, he's like getting lost by CJ Daniels. That's not an undersized receiver. If Malachi Tony's giving him trouble, sure, might just be a good on good. But no, that's supposed to be, you're running a double move with CJ Daniels and falling, and we got Earl Little coming downhill and falling. And that's another thing we have to talk about is, I mean, did we just see Earl Little come to play against his former team? He did it. He played up against Miami last year, but he did not this year. And the grades have gone downhill every game. Really, the only guy on that defense I think that played well, and I've learned not to criticize him mid-game in this scheme, is Daryl Jackson Jr. But upon rewatch, like, he's doing all he can out there, man.
I said it earlier, Clay, not to cut you off, but I talking to some people at Miami, they were very impressed with how he played, and he certainly gave them probably the toughest look out of any defensive lineman they faced this year. I mean, he was a point of concern for them without a doubt.
Yeah, and going forward for FSU, I mean, look, Deuce Robinson looks like a real player. I think Chroma got his fumbles, and that makes sense to kind of develop him and what he can do. And the Desir twins, those guys will be better. I think really the big difference. You talk about hitting a straight, and tell me if I'm wrong. You're the FSU guy. I mean, everybody talks about they got lucky in the portal 2 years ago. They didn't really get lucky. They got guys that everybody knew were going to be good, and they won recruiting battles. When you're talking about Keon Coleman, that was not luck. Everybody knew he was good.
Fisk, everyone wanted him.
Everybody knew he was good. Jared Verse was
painted that he was a Western Michigan, and Verse was an Albany guy, but those guys were top 25 portal guys. Everybody wanted them.
So I think that's really, and I don't know, you tell me, because we're going to switch to other teams, but we want to put a cap on the FSU Miami deal.
Yeah.
From an FSU fan perspective, how does Norvell get the talent acquisition part to where it needs to be? Some people say it's not a problem. Obviously, I know who are so laser focused on talent acquisition, which is why we love you as a fit for Group Chat Sports. What does Norvell have to do, or what can he do? What's the path to getting this talent acquisition thing solved to compete with Miami, which is recruiting at a high level?
Has Jimbo Fisher left Tallahassee yet? Everyone is an analyst. No, but really, I think that's kind of what it comes down to, is you do not have consistent. Chroma's unbelievable. You do not have consistently good, high effort recruiters on staff, and that was an issue with the previous staff. I think it is an improvement. We saw a lot of flips on early signing day with this new staff. They flip Tylon Lee, LA Jesse Harold, Boggs obviously follows Gus Malzahn, but it's not particularly improved this year. It didn't take a jump after the Alabama game. They didn't seem to really capitalize on that. They had guys on campus. I think you just need to keep reshuffling guys on staff, even if they're doing their job coaching the position well, because at the end of the day, talent acquisition is how you win games. You can't, at some point, you're going to get matched up with a team that has these big 5-star monsters, and you cannot scheme that every time.
Up to 1,700 now. So, like I said before, we are going to take the opportunity when we got the Fink in the building at the end of these shows. We just love college football. We want to talk about college football. And this is not just game breakdowns. I mean, all year-round portal recruiting. We really want to understand the game and the movement. That's just something we're passionate about. I know a lot of you in the chat are passionate about it. Over 1,700 on. If you just came for the Cane stock, we switched that logo. That's your cue. But I think it's worth sticking around, because you're going to understand college football a lot more, just knowing where everybody's doing, what everybody's, who's stepping up. It's hard to keep track of everybody, so we try to help you keep track here. Remember to like and subscribe to Group Chat Sports, and we put in these videos, these individual segments on that channel. Almost 2,000 subscribers. Let's get to 2,000 as a first step here as we get this thing back going with the blue chipper, our guy Clay Fink, the Fink. So Clay, we got a lot. We talked about a lot offline as far as college football. I'll let you pick. What is the thing that jumped out this weekend to you the most that you want to jump in on first?
I think Florida. I think we need to talk about Florida and conversely Arch Manning and Texas. And really, there were a lot of things with Texas that are looking a little funny in the light now. Obviously, they are no longer ranked. I think I had not seen this stat until just before. We were talking about the pressure mismatch in Florida State, Miami. Florida defense, 35 pressures. Texas defense, 6. 4 of them were Colin Simmons. That's not winning football. If you're going to put Lagway, or if you're going to let Lagway sit back there all day, I mean, I know he's had some stinkers, but come on, we know what he is. And ultimately, I'm worried about the offensive line for Texas. DJ Campbell had like a 90 pass blocking grade, former 5-star. I was a really big fan of their left tackle, Trevor Gooseby, coming into the year. I kind of worry it's a repeat of their right tackle situation last year, a super high tools guy, but is he ready right now? Because he allowed, I think, 6 pressures. Brandon Baker, another 5-star, he had a rough game. And the right tackle had a 0.0 pass blocking grade. So that's never good. Arch Manning had 4 turnover-worthy plays in this game. He's up to 10 on the year. And really, this looked like Billy Napier. He kind of got his guys up and ready to play. And he said, this season is not over. We're coming back. And it kind of feels like last year, they started off slow and then Billy gets some momentum and, maybe that's what he needs to save his job. I wouldn't complain. So
Clay, what you said, bringing up the pressures stat, kind of as I was watching the game, that was my overriding thought was, look, I said on Saturday I thought Florida was going to win, but still deep down I'm like, how's it going to look line of scrimmage wise? How are the athletes going to match up? Because we hear so much about obviously Arch Manning, but Texas, the talent they have as a whole, and they should be able to overwhelm a lot of teams this year. Having just seen Florida against Miami and knowing what the outcome was there, I was not impressed by what I saw out of Texas, just by the outside playmakers. We talk about the trenches, but the outside playmakers as well. Florida looked like the more talented team in that game. It wasn't just like they came out inspired. Like throughout the course of the 4 quarters, they looked like the better team.
I think that comment that just popped up, I think we know the answer. How does that look so good after looking so bad against Miami? That's Notre Dame, Florida State. It's just whoever's next, I think.
Wait, real quick. So Oso's asking, what's the name of the other channel so I can subscribe? It's not popping up in the chat for me. That is Group Chat Sports right here.
I'll put the logo. I'll put the link in there.
Just people with the link, and if you see the logo, you know what it is. Very clever. Shout out to everybody made his that's the text message box with the little football. We gotta get the soccer ball out of there. Pete does talk soccer, but we got to make sure when the Fink is here, we got the football on here as well. So on UF, yeah, I thought really it's more about Texas to me. I mean, UF looked good. The offensive line for Texas. I mean, we could talk about Arch, and Arch is not – I know you want to talk about Arch. Yeah. I saw some flashes. I saw him shrug off a rusher. I think it was Tyreek Sapp, right, that got through, and he shrugged him off and threw a beautiful pass. He's so big. He's so physical. He can run. It's just – man, it's not just the fact that he was getting hit every other play. If you're Arch Manning, they can't run the ball at all. No. I mean, it's not just like they struggle to run the ball like they should as a team that gets 5-star tailbacks and that has, a 5-star offensive line. They cannot run the ball even a little. I'm pulling up the stats right here. You look at Texas's running game against UF. Remember, Miami, not to just always go back to Miami, but if you're talking about another team that should be – there's a top 10 Texas team going into this game. Number 1, preseason number 1. So if you're comparing apples to apples on that level of recruiting at a minimum, right, the teams that finish at the top of their recruiting classes, Miami ran the ball – I don't say at will against Florida because it wasn't that easy, but at the end of the game, Miami ran the ball at will and ended the game running the ball. Look at Texas here. with guys that are, Wisner's a real running back. I know Baxter's out, but Arch Manning was by far the leading runner. Then you go to Wisner, 11 yards on 8 carries, and then it gets worse from there. I mean, this was like dominant stopping the run. And it's not like we're talking, the good defense, but we're not talking about, the 86 Bears or some of these great defenses we've seen at the college level. So what's wrong? You follow recruiting, some of these names. I mean, why can't these guys run the ball with all these 5-stars?
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, what's going on with this offensive line? I think they're starting 3 5-stars on the offensive line. Wisner might have been a 5-star in the back. I mean, I think, is there a development issue on the offensive line? Is there a development issue with their running backs? I think they've had success running the ball. It's just very odd. It's very odd. And also, I think it doesn't help with the pass game not excelling. It's a little bit easier. You don't have to respect the passing game as much. And especially with this pass rush, getting home on every play, you don't have to send a bunch of guys. So
Jarrett Gibson, another one from the state of Florida, who's banged up too. But Wisner was, I believe he ran for 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah.
So this is really, to me, the focus is going to be on Arch, and I want to get your take. We'll start with Pete, because I know Pete. I think you see it similar to me with Arch. I'm not as down on him as others. I just think maybe because I watch Miami and I've seen the Cam Ward experience, I've seen the Carson Beck experience. When I see someone like Arch Manning, my thought is, man, I wonder how he'd look with us. I'd wonder how he'd look with our offensive line, with our running game and that. But he's still missing throws. There's a lot of stuff he's doing himself. He had a chance down the stretch there and wasn't able to deliver. So, Pete, with Arch Manning, where are you at with him, and where do you think what's his stat? Like, what's his value right now? We know he's got a huge NIL right now, but like, what's his current evaluation if he was like on the open market? What do you see with Arch Manning?
Just based off the play, it wouldn't be very good. I still think that there would be, obviously there'd be programs that welcome him with open arms and think that this could be something that is fixable. I think, number one, you have to really look at the root of this. And this is what we were talking about last game. D, is this a physical thing? Because like earlier in the year, we saw some of the shots and he was, almost wincing. It looked like the arm angle, arm slot did not look very, very natural. It looked like he was kind of forcing things there. Or is it legitimately a mental thing? Is it a yips thing where being at Texas with the spotlight and all this stuff that has come with it has affected him mentally to the point that it's now becoming something that we see on the field week in, week out. And it's limiting this Texas team. As Clay, you said there, I think part of the run game struggles, have to come down to the fact that the passing game hasn't been, effective. But when you go back to the original question, is what's his value? I still think that if he were to finish this year out kind of on this trajectory with pretty much a stinker of a year, he would be wanted. But I think it's gonna take the right guy. Would a guy like a Lane Kiffin? I don't know. Would a guy like a Lane Kiffin say I would take my chances to kind of rehab that one a little bit? But I think it comes down to the root of it, man, because if it's a physical thing, he's got to get that thing assessed right now. And Sark has said it's not a physical thing. It's not a physical thing. If it's not a physical thing, then obviously something's off mentally here. And it's tough to flip that switch in the middle of the year. If that's the case, I think it's going to take a bit, man. And I was a huge Arch guy before the year. I know you were too as well, D. I don't know where you stood on him, Clay, but that's my thoughts on it.
And I'm going to stay with Arch. I'm still a believer, to be honest. I think we talked about, a Kiffin. I think Kiffin, the UF job really more, which I'm going to switch to UF now because I think it's worth looking at when you're talking about Texas. Look at UF in a similar situation. Obviously, I think Sark's going to see this one through just because this does not feel like a transfer kind of kid. Maybe,
I don't think so.
But that just doesn't feel like the way it's going to work out. Sworn to the Storm mentioning his footwork's horrendous. I agree. A lot of it too.
It is.
He doesn't have firm pockets, so I think he's getting some bad habits. But I'll give you a counter example that I think is relevant, which is the guy on the other sideline, right? So you talk about big, athletic, first overall pick Buzz. That's DJ Lagway, and we know DJ Lagway played very well in this game. Now look at the team stats here. The passing's pretty similar, but more efficient on the on the Lagway side. Obviously, a lot less sacks. But look at this. Rushing. 159 yards rushing for Lagway. And that was not Lagway's doing. A lot of that was handing it off to Jaden Baugh, which you called for. 37 carries, 52 yards. We already talked about most of that coming from Arch. 6 sacks for Arch, 0 sacks for DJ Lagway. So a lot of this, because Lagway, we know last week, or last game against Florida, he had less yards against Miami than Bethune-Cookman, right? Yeah. So that was as bad as it gets. So from one performance to the other, you see what the recipe might be for getting Arch back on track. It's not that complicated. Run the ball, protect them.
Well, I just now putting 2 and 2 together. He got sacked 6 times and was still their leading rusher.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. Yeah, I think it was smart to give Ball the ball. I mean, that dude is really, really good. We're going to talk a little bit more later about some of this year's freshman receivers compared to last year's freshman receivers. How do they stack up? The freshman receivers for Florida look pretty good. Dallas Wilson probably would have made an impact in some of these other games because, he looks legit.
Let's talk about this. So we talked about it offline. I wanted to get to this discussion because there was so much talk, rightfully so. And this is not like during the year. This is when they were still in high school. There's a lot of talk about the class of 2024 at wide receiver. That included Ryan Williams, who reclassified into it. But they were hyped in high school. You get to college, and they lived up to the hype. Jeremiah Smith was the best player in the country by the end of the year, certainly the best receiver. Coleman for Auburn really starting to show his talent on a week-to-week basis. I think the production would have been higher earlier if he had better passing situation around him.
Definitely.
Wingo did some things. The Clemson guys, Brian Wesco, those guys delivered. And in the case of a guy like Wesco, that's continuing to show. Ryan Williams, he's a really, really good player, star in the game. Jeremiah Smith is who he is. Less hype about the 2025 class.
Definitely.
When it came to receiver. We heard about Decorian Moore, who is the top receiver for Oregon, and we knew he'd be the guy. 5-star receiver out of Duncanville, Texas, signs with Oregon. He's their leading receiver. So he put him in that category with these other guys. I think that's not a surprise. But one thing I heard just covering recruiting down here is a lot of people thought that this high school recruiting class of receivers in Florida, meaning the state of Florida, was pretty elite. And when you look at some of these names, Vernell Brown, right there, number 1 ranked receiver in the state of Florida. We saw what he was able to get done. And this is according to 247. So it's different than the composite. Let's switch to the composite, just see what that looks like here. Make it a little more even. But Vernell Brown, somebody that we knew was going to be a dynamic receiver, 5-star player on the composite, number 30 in the country, made some unbelievable plays on Saturday, mossing guys as a smaller receiver going up and get it. He's been a good punt returner. Dallas Wilson, you mentioned, we'll talk about him. The size, speed, this guy's a horse. Jamie French from Texas. Talk about Texas.
We haven't seen much of him yet, but he's legit.
But he's someone that maybe Texas could get some more out of because they need all the help they can get. Donovan, an IMG guy, but another true Florida guy, Cortez Mills, playing for Nebraska. Josh Moore, 2 touchdowns for Miami against USF. I think you'll see him play a bigger role. And as we get down the line, Davon Boggs played a little bit for Florida. These are all just Florida receivers. Yeah. Then Winston Watkins, we're already at 41. Show you how deep this class is. 41 ranked overall player in Florida. Winston Watkins, he's playing for Ole Miss. But then look at who had to scroll down in the state of Florida to find. This is the overall. It's not just the receivers, but still.
You got to go to the second page.
89 ranked overall, and he's lower on 247. He was a 3-star on 247. But right there, Malachi Toney, maybe the best receiver. I would say certainly, in my opinion, the best receiver in the ACC, one of the best receivers in the country right now. So those are just the Florida guys. There's other guys, Decorian Moore. And this 2025 receiver class, I think, with all those Florida guys doing what they're doing, both in state and at the University of Florida, this could be right there with those guys.
I agree. Yeah, we won't have a Jeremiah Smith, obviously, but you're never going to have a Jeremiah Smith. That's not the standard. You don't typically walk in and break every true freshman receiving record. But, I mean, we could easily have like 5 or 6 guys who put up, similar to what we saw from Ryan Williams and Cam Coleman last year. I mean, they had awesome seasons, but it was, 800 yards, 7 or 8 touchdowns. That's not completely unattainable, especially for these guys who have become major parts of their passing offenses. And honestly, I mean, if Miami goes super far, you know, I don't think Tony obviously is Jeremiah Smith. He's not as physically gifted as Jeremiah Smith, but like, you know, you rack up some games, he could get up there. He could break 1,000. Absolutely. He's already got to be close to on pace for it. So yeah, I think this can definitely be right up there with last year's class. And DeCorian Moore, #1 receiver for a playoff team. Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, like we said. I mean, even Javon Boggs, he got banged up, so he's missed a little bit of time, but he was the first freshman receiver to start an opener for FSU in like 30 years or something. So they trust him a lot. He's going to figure it out. He's had a few plays, but yeah, I think absolutely this class can be on par with last year's.
I would throw in Andrew Marsh, you know, from the state of Texas,
yep.
who goes up to Michigan. It looks like he's going to be a weapon for Bryce Underwood, 80 yards against Wisconsin. And again, Michigan, you're not going to get those huge numbers from they don't throw the ball, right? That the raw numbers are going to be there. But I think in terms of guys that could make an impact on this playoff run potentially, just certainly on this Big Ten competition, I think he is somebody that can make a dent. So overall, man, and Pete, I'll go to you because I know you've watched these guys for a while. Anything surprise you seeing Dallas Wilson and what he did? I mean, what were your takeaways on him?
I mean, it didn't surprise me other than the fact that it was his first game. Like so I'd be lying to you. You know, I'm kind of going to be contradictory, but yeah, it did surprise me. Like talent wise, I knew what he was capable of, but man, to do that in your first game against Texas, and I don't know that it would have been the difference maker in a game against Miami to have him, but I certainly think that for a team that I didn't think was like lacking weapons necessarily on the outside, you add him to the mix, and it's a nice looking offense right now. Looking forward, if they can stay on that path, man, and I get on Billy a lot for his play calling. I still think it leaves a lot to be desired there, but that's a nice core, man. That's a nice core. Who knows what happens here with Billy? Not to go too much on a tangent about Florida here, but because you want to keep that core together. If you're Florida, it's not too bad, but they still have a long ways to go in terms of their roster.
Definitely.
Yeah, look, in terms of, again, some of I don't want to get too lost on these 2024 guys, because on top of Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams and those guys, you know, Coleman, who we know what those guys can do, you had to add Brian Wesco, who I mentioned at the top, but I just pulled up his stats. I mean, the eye test matches the production.
I like Wesco a lot, yeah.
26 catches, 431 yards, 5 touchdowns. So he is playing at an extremely high level. I'll give you a little bit of a sleeper, Pete, which is KJ Duff from that class of 2024.
Yeah. Syracuse, right?
Syracuse. I believe he played at IMG. He's from New York area, and
excuse me, Rutgers. I don't know why I said Syracuse.
Yeah, sorry, Rutgers. Yes, he's at Rutgers. I apologize. Now he's not Syracuse, but 6'6", 225, almost a tight end. But he is having an outstanding year. 30 catches, 420 yards, 3 touchdowns. Really big, really fast. Like I said, he could be potentially a tight end, but he's someone to keep an eye on at receiver. That is that class of 2024 player. Doesn't get the hype, but he's certainly in that category. Mario Craver, I don't believe he's he's a true sophomore too, right?
Yeah.
So
he's been really good for A&M. Reed seems to love targeting him. For talking sleepers, I gotta throw out my guy Hardly Gilmore over at Kentucky. He's from I don't really know where in Florida.
He's from the He's from the Muck.
Yeah.
Hold on, Clay. Keep talking, Clay. I'm gonna pull something up while you're there.
He's like the 4th highest rated receiver recruit UK has ever gotten. Had a bit of some controversy in the offseason. Took a trip up to Nebraska, might have robbed one of his teammates and gotten kicked off the team and accepted back at Kentucky. But he's really good at football, and he was 17 for all of last season, and he didn't get the hype like Ryan Williams. So I mean, he only had like 150 yards, but he's playing well despite Kentucky's passing offense really, really, really sucking. But he had a nice catch against Georgia this week.
By the way, we got almost 1,900 on live right now. Remember to like and subscribe to Group Chat Sports, because we'll be talking about players like Hardly Gilmore that you don't hear about on other channels. And Pete knows
I can't find it. I can't find it, but we did a video, and it was the most clickbaity title ever. It was like Hardly Knew Him.
And when it looked like you're going to Nebraska.
Yeah.
That
is good.
But we did here it is. Found it. Let me show you what I got here. This is how deep we got into it. Look at it. They hardly knew him. Kentucky wide receiver transfer. And look, it says Nebraska down there. So no, we actually did like him a lot when we talked about him then.
And he's from an area, the Muck, which, we talked about how we talked to Fred Taylor, who's one of the best players ever come out of that area, about how that Okeechobee area, really the west part of Palm Beach County, has fallen off a little bit just because guys are moving out, different reasons demographically. But he is somebody who comes from that area, and that area is known for speed, for playmaking ability. I think that's something Kentucky could certainly use with some of the departures that they had. So Barrett Brown going to LSU, Dan Key going to Nebraska. I think he made the right decision by sticking around because the targets are there. But what do you see from him? I mean, like, just before we get off him, like, just in terms of the upside, like, what are we talking about with this guy?
I think probably like a top 100 type of pick. It also helps how young he is. Like, coaches always love the potential of what a guy can be when I get my hands on him. Like, I can really, they don't develop receivers in Kentucky. Once he's in the NFL, he's only 20 years old. He's got some experience under his belt. I think he can go top 100. He's not like a first round guy. He's not overly physically imposing, but he's certainly got that speed, that change of direction, and he's a pretty good hands. Honestly, I think he makes some good sideline catches. So, all
right, well, we got 5 minutes. I'm taking off here to Storm Sessions. I'm going to talk to a litany of players here. We got the whole lineup for, I do the show for the University of Miami, an interview show. So this is going to, I want to go longer because now we got almost 2,000 on. Yeah. Clay, if you guys want to go on longer, please do. But we're going to go longer as the season goes on. So we got a lot to talk about. This is awesome. Loving the comments, loving everybody's action here. Remember, subscribe to Group Chat Sports. Talk about Ja'Cory Barney, nice too, from 2 classes ago. But he is very athletic. So Clay, you're the new guy on the board. Do the honors. Who do you want to talk about here to take us home?
I guess since we're talking, we're trying to be some of the more under the radar things. It's not the SEC. We could talk about Bama and Vandy or whatever. Baylor. Let's talk about Baylor. Let's talk about Michael Trigg. He might be the second best tight end behind Kenyon Sadiq in the country right now. Former big time recruit in the 2021 class, I believe. Originally signed with USC, transfers to Ole Miss. Now he's at Baylor. This dude averaged 22. I didn't see this until you put this on here, but 22 points per game playing high school basketball. He was a legit basketball player. And he had 8 catches for 155 yards, a couple of really, really impressive highlight catches, one-handers, just going up and getting it. The chemistry really seems to be evident between him and Sawyer Robertson. And what we talk about Sawyer Robertson, he's a big dude. I don't remember when it was, but I do know there was the seam throw that was really impressive. He can rip it. And I was looking, it seems like every week he's got 400 yards. Sure enough, he has 200 more yards than anybody else in the country this year. He's the only guy over 2,000. And yeah, it was a fun game. Avery Johnson has been a little up and down this year, but that was really a shootout. They both went for like over 350 passing yards. Oh yeah. Yup.
Listen, you'll learn something about D very quickly. Is he loves we both do. We both love to pull up the basketball highlights. It shows you a lot.
Got to.
Florida guy, talk about well-traveled. The guy he's from Florida. He went to USC, then he was at Ole Miss, now at Baylor. I don't know why it didn't work out at Ole Miss, to be honest with you. You think they would be able to utilize a guy like that? I mean, he caught some passes, but he really wasn't what he is now, where he's a focal point and I think really that's an NFL combination. Look at that, 22, 5, 4, 1, 1, 1. That's an NFL combination. We talk about Sawyer Robertson and Trigg. Sawyer Robertson, you think, okay, right, Big 12 quarterback. He's one of big numbers. We've seen those guys before, but he really does have physical tools. He can move. You mentioned that throw where he just ripped it up the seam. He has the arm strength to do it. The production is there. I think he can. The instincts were the question coming into the year. You've seen some ability to go through his reads. Certainly having a guy like Trigg helps, who is, like you said, if Kenyon Sadiq with probably the overall skill set and the blocking is probably the best tight end in the country. But if you talk about just receiving, like just at least production and what they mean to their team. So you can kind of blend in a little more because the team is more balanced. Trigg is the guy for this Baylor team down the stretch. He had a monster game, over 150 yards against Kansas State. But they got some
this
talent.
Big 12. This Big 12 is gonna be a wacky one. I really think that's gonna be a fun conference to follow. Just looking at the standings right now, you have BYU and Texas Tech, both undefeated. They're 5-0 and 2-0 in the conference. But Arizona State, good team. Love their quarterback. Obviously, Jordan Tyson at receiver. I'm a big fan of Dillingham as a whole. Their Baylor's, we're talking about them. They had a 3-point loss to Arizona State a few weeks back. Houston's not a bad team. Utah, they're 4-1, one of the better teams in the conference. And Houston got beat pretty badly this weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say Texas Tech made them look bad, but that's kind of the Miami thing.
Yeah, well, I just think when I'm talking about, I'm looking at some of these teams in the middle part of the Big 12, like Definitely. They have the ability to beat some of the teams near the top of the conference, right? Yeah. So I think that's what's going to make the Big 12 pretty wacky to follow this year. But
so I'm just like Sawyer Robertson, real quick. Michael Trigg has over 100 more receiving yards than any other tight end in the country this year. So they'd love to throw the ball.
And one guy to watch too on that offense, we're talking, because one thing you'll see if you guys, again, subscribe to Group Chat Sports, almost 1,900 on live right now. Like and subscribe to the channel. We love the draft. And a lot of this is talking about guys who you're going to hear about during draft season, either now or later. So we want to identify those guys during the season so you can watch them and say, okay, well, I got Baylor on the TV while I'm doing other stuff. Now I know kind of who to watch for. Trigg certainly is one at tight end, Sawyer Robertson. I'd also throw Bryson Washington in that mix. 6 foot, 216-pound redshirt sophomore out of Franklin, Texas. Had 1,000 yards last year, 12 touchdowns, over 5.9 yards per carry, and he's off to a good start this year as well. He's somebody, he's not the most dynamic necessarily, but he's big, he's got burst, and he's been productive. So that Baylor offense, Baylor defense is a different story, but I think that Baylor offense, between what they have in the receiving game with Trigg and some of the other guys, 34, his name escapes me right now, but he's a good player as I pull up the stats. But certainly, Josh Cameron, he's a good player, but certainly Trigg, Washington, and Sawyer Robertson, those three, I think you're talking about three guys that you'll be seeing either this draft or the next draft in a case of Bryce and Washington as draft picks. So Baylor, exciting team. And any predictions on the Big 12 here before we get out of here? From Josh wants to know.
I think you just got to go Texas Tech, man. I'm kind of obsessed with the Utah offensive tackles, and they got rocked in their game against Texas Tech, and that's the best offensive tackle duo maybe you'll see. Like, those guys could both be top 15 picks, and they got completely dominated by Texas Tech. Nobody else in the Big 12 has those guys. The rest of the Utah offensive line is pretty good too. And I mean, that pass rush is just until they get to the playoff, because I do think they make the playoff at this point, unless, and the Big 12 is so unpredictable. Until they make the playoff, I don't see anybody stopping David Bailey and Romello Height. 11 pressures for Bailey this week, tied for most in the country with Ruben Bain. He's got one more pressure than Bain on the year. He leads the country. So I think I have to go Texas Tech until they prove otherwise.
And lesson from there, Pete, we know it because we did all those Texas Tech portal videos on Group Chat Sports. Your boys.
You have oil money, spend it on the trenches.
Yeah, that's it.
Spend it on the trenches. You got
their line's looking pretty good too.
Dude, there's a lot of teams that spend a lot of money. And yes, they spent it very, they have oil money. We are not saying anything groundbreaking there, but they spent it on the right guys. So, and one of the guys, Joyner, who they spent a lot of money on as well, a running back that was a big explosive part of their offense, one of the fastest guys in the country. He's out for the year. So
but then the running back, Jacoby Williams, who they've been using, they use a few backs. They have a pretty nice little rotation there. But Jacoby Williams, 308 yards, 5.3 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, and then he's catching the ball. 15 catches, 227 yards, 15.1 per catch, including a 71-yarder and a touchdown. So they got guys out there, man. It's not. I thought when Joyner went down, knowing how much they spent on him, it would really hurt their running back rotation. But it seems they got 3 other guys that can get it done, including Williams, who's one of them better all-around guys. All right, so 1,900 on. Like and subscribe. Like I said, to Group Chat Sports. We're doing this. I don't say we're doing it every day, but we're going to do a lot of the days, and this is throughout the season, off season. Honestly, off season probably kick up even more. But want to
a lot of recruiting stuff too. A lot of recruiting stuff. We didn't really talk recruiting today, but we will be talking a lot of national recruiting stuff as well.
just to keep you guys, again, we got a lot of knowledgeable college football fans in the chat. We appreciate all you guys in the chat. I could tell you guys loving this because you guys are very active and engaged. Got over 1,900 on. Or like and subscribe to Group Chat Sports. We're putting all these little individual segments that we talk about on Group Chat Sports. So if you missed it and you say, oh, what's going on with, what are they talking about? Oh, interesting. A little Baylor talk, a little Florida talk. Whatever it is, we'll keep you covered. And if you listen to this show and you subscribe to the channel, you're going to be up to date on all of these teams, especially through the season and then into the offseason. You're going to know exactly who's where. It's kind of hard to keep up with these portal guys sometimes. We'll cover the portal all the way through like we did last time. We'll cover college football, we'll cover recruiting. We want you guys to be the most informed college football fans on the planet, and we had to bring in the big dogs for that. That's why we brought in the Malachi Tony of the internet game, the Fink.
That might go to Trenton. He's a little younger. So,
but Trenton, the problem with Trenton, listen, we've talked about it before. The state of Kentucky has some these laws right now that are banning mobile phone use in school hours is hurting us, man. So,
is that right?
Yeah, man, we can't.
I got out before that.
Oof. Yeah, well, listen, that's why we had to, like we said, we had to call the boss of the Kentucky media prospects world.
Yeah, the final boss.
Yeah, exactly. But no, Clay, awesome stuff today, and we're gonna keep. We did this. This is the first time we've done it this format, so stay tuned. We're gonna be doing a lot more of this coming up, and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and go follow Clay, guys, on social media as well, because he's again FSU reporter primarily, as he's a student over there, but always posting stuff across the country from his perspective. So go give him a follow.
Appreciate you guys. Let us know in the comments what you guys want to see more of, and we'll do it. This show's about you guys. Appreciate you. And like I said, like and subscribe to Group Chat Sports. Like and subscribe to the main channel with CanesInSight, and we'll be having some fun, man. So lot going on. College football. No better time to be a college football fan than right now.
No.
All right, guys.
See ya.
Later.